Well, Will, as we're recording this episode on Halloween, by the time it comes out, it's already going to be November.
Crazy.
2023 is coming to an end. Kelly Cup banner back in June. Hoisted to the rafters last Saturday.
Let's go.
Start of a new Blades season. Everything feeling good right now.
Everything
if you're a
feeling
Florida
good.
fan, I would say.
It is a little spooky that we're almost in November, but I guess that makes sense because it is Halloween on the day of recording
this on Halloween, and certainly some sweet stuff to talk about, right?
A lot.
Like all those full-size candy bars they were giving away at Hertz Arena on Sweets and the Sweets.
That was a operation. I mean, the amount of kids that were coming, you could see them through the through the walkthrough section or the standing room only section.
I just about threw on a costume myself and got in line because there was some good stuff in there, man.
I'll tell you what, full-size candy bars are nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, especially when they're at every single suite, right?
Hey.
Those kids don't even need to do Halloween.
That's two Halloweens right there.
That's pretty much two Halloweens.
One of the Blades game and one tonight, I guess.
But unfortunately that night, it was the Blades who got spooked at the very end of the game.
They got tricked.
An absolute heartbreaker.
Yeah.
4-3 loss to the Jacksonville Icemen. Blades entered the third period down 3-1. We're playing good hockey, certainly. You could feel that it was a game where the Blades had a chance to come back, and they did. They score first. Bobo Carpenter gets the building jumping again with an early goal in the third, and then a minute left to go. Joe Pendenza, gorgeous shot, gorgeous goal. Everything felt great until 30 seconds later when Garrett Cockrell scored, and boy, those ones are tough.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter when. They're tough.
It looked like that game was destined for at least overtime after that Pendenza shot. And I think a lot of people in the building maybe expected, the face-off to happen, and then Jacksonville or Florida, whoever had the puck.
They play it out for the point. You see that sometimes.
Yeah, we just try to play for overtime. But Jacksonville, credit to them, they're a really talented hockey team.
They are a
fast
very good
hockey
team. They are going to be a major factor in the South Division.
Yeah.
It is very possible that if the Blades, just like the last two seasons, if the Blades Kelly Cup aspirations are to come to fruition again, the road will take them through Jacksonville.
Yeah, it might be another all-Florida matchup at some point in the playoffs because they're a fast team, they're a hard-working team, and you got to play until the final whistle, and that's exactly what they did. They battled back after conceding a tying goal, came right back. I mean, the Everblades goal was getting announced as the Jacksonville goal was scored. I mean, it was that close together. It couldn't have been more than 30 seconds.
And you could just hear the groan from the crowd, and to credit where credit is due, the Blades didn't give up either. After giving up that goal, they had 30 seconds. They pushed hard to try and get the game tied up again. That would have been something. Unfortunately, couldn't get it done. It's going to be interesting to see how Florida responds this week. 3 games against the Solar Bears. We'll get to that later on in the podcast after our conversation with our featured guest this week, Bobo Carpenter, who, as I said, scored a big goal.
Mr. Massachusetts.
In that home opening game. First off, though, before we can talk kind of about the ramifications of this game on the ice, off the ice, wonderful ceremony.
Great.
Another banner up in the rafters. Looks beautiful up there. Another championship banner.
It looks right at home.
Right at home.
And you know what? It will look even better up there is
a fourth.
A fourth Kelly Cup banner.
Just as we're 4 games into the season. Maybe a sign. Who knows, Will?
Who's to say?
Look for signs everywhere, and you'll find exactly what you want. But the off-the-ice stuff, we talked about a little bit about Sweets and the Sweets.
Yep.
Anthem in America the Beautiful, sung by some children's choirs. Speeches from Craig Brush and the owner David Hoffman. You had all the returners that are still with the team. Guys like Ben Masella, Levko Koper, John McCarron coming back out to support and watch the banner go up. Now as just plain clothes civilians like the rest of us. But it was truly a special night. And although, yes, the result wasn't what we wanted, it wasn't the perfect end to a perfect evening, everything around the ice was great last night. And of course, the sellout crowd was the highlight of it, cheering all the way throughout the game. There was never a quiet moment in that one.
No, the crowd was unbelievable the entire night, and we can't do it without the fans. I mean, we say it every single day, but
we mean
Kelly Cup.
We truly mean it.
The past 2 years, the Kelly Cup was for and a direct result of the fan base, and we couldn't have done it without them. And they were in full force last Saturday night. But it was an unbelievable atmosphere. Like you said, didn't go the way that they wanted, but just the celebration of really last season and the year before that. If you saw the hype video before the game that was made by our unbelievably talented Tyler Center.
Oh, he's going to be playing that back on repeat on the editing software.
There was a lot of nods back to the 2021-2022 Kelly Cup winning season.
Yeah, for sure.
And of course last season.
It makes sense. You still got Joe Pendenza and Cam Johnson, two of the major factors from that squad. They're still here. Bobo Carpenter, he was part of that squad in 2021-22 and last year's group, although had some injuries. We'll talk about that with him alongside a whole bunch of other stuff later on in the podcast, so make sure you keep listening. So the off-the-ice ramifications for the year are great. Starting off the year the right way with a sellout crowd, loud all game long, particularly at the end of the second period when Cam Johnson was gladiator style asking the crowd basically if they're entertained. And
I was entertained.
Boy, I was entertained. Everyone was entertained in that building. I bet
that place was loud.
Except for the Icemen. They didn't look very entertained with
like
what
that.
particularly Derek Lodermeyer.
How many times have you seen on the scoreboard, and I laughed at this when I saw it, how many times have you seen a goalie's number back-to-back have penalties on the board? I don't think I've ever seen that in my life.
I don't think I've ever seen that either. No, I've seen goalie penalties, but never back-to-back. Never a team basically having a 5-on-3 because of one guy
and
who's the goalie taking two separate penalties and relishing every moment of it.
Oh, and just loving it.
And that was at a point. That was at a point where the Blades were down 3-1 late in the second period. You needed that. The crowd needed that. Obviously, the Blades would have preferred to not have to kill that off, but the team kind of needed that from the fans, that kind of jolt.
He was a major jump start for sure.
Yeah, for sure. You go into the locker room, you still feel good, even though you're down.
Yeah. You got the energy you need. The crowd is behind you. There's a lot of juices flowing. So it was, we got to, I got to rewatch Gladiator now. I feel like it's been too long since I've seen that.
Just Photoshop Cam Johnson's face.
Yeah. And then have him throw a sword across the Coliseum or whatever.
Stick.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
His goalie, his goalie paddle. But more towards the game itself. Obviously, it's only game 4 of the season.
Yep.
By the time we get to April, memories of this night are going to be far more focused on the banner raising than the actual results of the game. But it is certainly one that is emotionally tough. You could see it on the faces of the players and the coaches walking off the ice and just the one-word conversations you pretty much would have with them. It was tough.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting to see this week how the team responds to that kind of loss, because losing that way, especially against arguably your biggest rival, now going in against arguably your other biggest rival in the Orlando Solar Bears, it's going to be a big early test for this team to see just how they handle it mentally.
No doubt. And it is a tough one to lose. It is a tough one to lose, I should say. And the players are obviously going to want it back. But in saying that, you've got 3 games against an Orlando team that you've already beaten twice on the road this season. You're at home for 3 consecutive games. You haven't played anybody outside the state of Florida yet this season.
Yeah.
So I think you're getting comfortable with a lot of the teams they're going to be seeing a lot of. They've already seen Orlando for a pair of games so far.
2 teams that, as we've talked about, are going to be factors in the playoff race alongside Florida all year long.
And I think it's just it's nice to play a team that you can beat at their place. Now let's see if we can beat them at our place.
Yeah, and also, speaking of beating them at their place, the Blades, they were not winless last week.
No, they split that series.
Went up on Thursday to Amway Center again, a tight 2-1 win. Story of that game was Evan Cormier, though.
No doubt.
43 saves on 44 shots, including some beauties.
Yeah.
It is great to see that the Blades have, I don't even want to call him a backup, because he is a starter in this league. It's a tandem that the Blades have this year. Evan Cormier, he was a starter last year for Kalamazoo, and there's a bunch of teams he could go to where he would be the starter right now. To have that guy as Cam Johnson's right hand in the crease, that's got to make you feel pretty good as a coaching staff. And I'd imagine that we'll see Cormier get at least 1 start this week.
Oh, yeah, I would be shocked if one of the 3 games Cormier did not get a nod. And I was talking to this because, hey, Jake and I, we made that road trip to Orlando.
Yeah, that was fun. That is a great building.
That is
Amway
a
Center.
Beautiful building.
If you get a chance, if you're considering going for a road trip to support the Everblades, there were some Blades fans in attendance at Amway Center last Thursday. That would probably be the one. Take a hop up the 75, get onto the 4, make your way into Orlando, make an evening of it,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Go out, enjoy
Beautiful
the city. Maybe stay overnight, go to Disneyland, SeaWorld, whatever after, right? You can do the whole shebang.
I think Orlando City SC is still in the MLS playoffs. I'm not entirely sure, but
and I mean, the Solar Bears, they're a good team this year.
Oh yeah.
The Blades did not beat a pushover opponent.
No.
It was a tight game. Blades winning 2-1. Logan Lambden with the heroic. English is tough sometimes, Will. With the heroics.
That was a shot. You want to talk about a shot?
That was a shot. That might
unbelievable.
4 games in. That might be the shot of the season.
The way he palmed that down and sending a shot
Hand,
right below the
ice,
crossbar.
top cheddar.
No shot the goalie could even
Probably
see that.
about, at most, 3 seconds from when the puck came within his reach to when it was in the back of the net, if that.
It was like, like a pop time for a catcher.
The shot was certainly like a half second, if that. I would have loved to have a radar gun for that one.
Yeah. But that was one of the fastest bang shots I've ever seen in my life. And it could be the shot of the season. I mean, we only 3 games into the year, and that was one of the best goals I've seen in a long, long time.
Yeah, and Sean Jostling, also the other goal in that game, getting himself on the board. Great to see. Patrick Holloway on Saturday, we should mention, a goal and an assist. First defenseman of the season to score a goal for the Blades this year. It took a while last year for the Blades to get one of their blue liners on the board. Certainly great to see Patrick Holloway having a night like that. So there were, for sure, not just off the ice. On the ice, there were some real positives last week as the Blades went 1-1. Right now sitting with a 2-2 record after 4 games. And speaking of 2, that's how many goals Bobo Carpenter has right now to this point in the year. Bobo Carpenter joins us on Swamp Talk coming up next.
And welcoming on the show a fellow son of Massachusetts, Bobo Carpenter. Bobo, welcome to the show. Finally, we get somebody from, I think, is one of the top states in the United States on the show.
Yeah, sure.
I might be a little biased
Yeah.
because I'm from Massachusetts, but
All right.
we finally get Bobo Carpenter on the show. Welcome to Swamp Talk. You are guest number 4. We had head coach Cam Johnson, Logan Lambden, and now Mr. Carpenter.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. That's a pretty heavy list before me, too.
Big shoes to fill, I'm sure.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
hey, I know you're going to do well. I know it's going to be a good show.
Yeah, starting off, you've already got the playoff stash ready to go. I know we got a ways to go before the playoffs, but this team talks about playing playoff hockey from the start of the season so that you're not just starting in April. Is that part of it, or just...
No, the team had a Halloween get-together, and our costumes, my wife and I I was Ted Lasso and she was Coach Beard, so it kind of just worked, and now moving into November, so it just kind of kept it. I started 2 days early.
Nice, makes sense.
Is there going to be a team Movember pool going on?
I haven't heard anything about it yet, but good thing to get started.
Yeah. You may just want to walk in and get it going, just because you've got the head start already.
Yeah, you're ready to go. I don't know about the rest of the guys.
That'd be good. But it's been a pretty... It's been an up and down start to the season, a win to open up, and then a loss, and then a win, and then a loss. So it's kind of been a bit of a roller coaster so far. So for you coming back after a shortened season last year, I mean, what's it been like getting kind of back into the ebb and flow of a season?
Yeah, I mean, basically it was a year off, so getting back into the swing of things and a bunch of new guys. It's just going to take a little bit, and we have a group of guys in there that come to the rink every day, want to work hard, and we have fun. And I think that helps. It kind of takes the load off when you don't get that win, and it shows when you come back and you kind of put the work in. So if we can just tighten up and be a little more consistent, things will go really well for us, and I can see that happening.
And I talked about this with you after the game on Saturday, but you mentioned you are feeling really good right now personally, and just the way you're playing, your body, all that. And you said that was one of your main goals this year, is to just have a full healthy season where you're producing, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, like you said, it's been a couple tough years for me. I want to do whatever I can to help the team get the wins, and however I can do that, just kind of be a two-way player, get shots on net, and be an upbeat guy on the bench. Little things like that go a long way. And personally, when other guys do it, it gets me going. So if I can do that and help anyone in any way, that's kind of my goal.
Yeah, and also this was something Coach talked about with you. You're a guy who's still chasing the NHL dream, making it all the way up to the big leagues. What was it about wanting to come back here, where you were at Checkers training camp this off season just before we got going here? What was it that made you think this is the best spot for you to eventually make it all the way?
They treat you like a pro here. They do it the right way. That's why everyone wants to come play here. And from top to bottom, to the fans, to the front office, everyone comes to these games, and it feels like a great atmosphere. And especially the first game we had last weekend, the fans were unbelievable. So the hockey's great. Our division's always a tough one to be in. And I just think I was more comfortable here, and that's where I want to be, and that's where you're going to flourish if you're comfortable and you're happy. So that's why I wanted to come back.
And you kind of mentioned your off season last year, but what was kind of the timeline for getting back on the ice and skating and really getting up to game speed? Because the few games that you've played so far at the start of this season have been extremely productive.
Yeah, it was a long one, so we took it slow just because I had so much time. We knew I was kind of out till this year, early on. So that kind of pushed the recovery way back. So it was a 6-month recovery basically, and then after that, I was kind of full steam ahead throughout the summer. So I had a lot of time to kind of work on the rehab and other skills that might go unnoticed when you're in season and you're focusing on games alone. So it was nice in that regard, kind of taking a step back and broadening everything I could work on. So I'm thankful for that, but it's just been great to be in games, to be with the team again.
And it's already paying off a little bit. You got a pair of goals to start the year. I imagine for a guy like you, as you said, long recovery process, then getting back up to game speed, it's got to be nice to already have a couple potted in the bank to start the year.
It definitely is. When you start the year, you want to get the first one out of the way and, just kind of keep the train rolling. I owe a lot to my teammates and all the hard work they do down low. Oliver did a ton of work behind the net, and I just kind of batted it out of the air. So I owe a lot to him, and that's why we'll be successful, because we show those little signs, and we'll just keep doing it and be consistent.
And how are you seeing those signs with some of the new guys? Obviously, the returners, they know what it takes to win. They've done it. These new guys coming in, what are you seeing from them that makes you confident that this team can go all the way again?
Like I said, when we come for practice, we put in the work, and they want to learn. They want to have video sessions with coach, and they ask us questions, and that'll just make them more comfortable, because when you go to new teams and new places, the structure's different, the systems are different, and if you kind of brush that off and you don't buy into that, then issues arise. But we got a good group of guys that can lean on each other, and you don't get mad at each other when mistakes happen. Move on to the next shift. So those little signs just go a long way.
Bobo, you come from a big hockey family, your sister Alex, your dad Bobby, and when we talked to you over the summer, you said it wasn't even going to be a close decision on the one-on-one game between you and your sister. Do you still stand by that statement?
We go at it. Back then, we would play horse in the driveway and shoot, and there were some weeks that someone was winning and other ones. So I think that helped us tremendously with our compete level and skills. So I owe a lot to her with all that. And
you are a BU guy. Your sister is a BC girl, which is, the ComAv rivalry is probably one of the most intense in all of college hockey. BC and BU only separated by a couple of miles in eastern Massachusetts, in the Boston area. What is it like, not only just playing in that tournament, but also having your sister on the other side of it?
It was special. It was cool because obviously I don't like BC. But to be able to cheer for her and her program there with all the girls was pretty special. I would love to go to the games because it was just a quick train ride down. So it was special. And she did the same for me. She would come when she could. And it was nice that she was on the women's team and I was on the men's team. So we really had an excuse to cheer for each other.
Yeah,
and,
true.
Yeah, so it was fun.
And you also, when you were at BU, you won a Hockey East title. What was it like playing in a college conference like that, where you guys are one of the big teams on campus? We talked a little bit about Cam when he was at UND. You guys were very much the same way, just in terms of the atmosphere around the team. Talk a little bit about that.
It's pretty special. You get to campus, and I obviously grew up watching my dad taking us to all the bean pots and the tournaments in March, and being a part of it and going through that whole season process with your team and building makes it even more special, because you're there with the students every game, and then once you get to the Garden and you do all that work, you kind of is the cherry on top when you win it. So that junior year was very special, and we could feel the fans there supporting us, and that's just what makes it special, and that's why you build that school pride over the 4 years.
And what's it like, to have for you, 2 tournaments that you regularly play in, the Beanpot with all the 4 Boston schools, and then the Hockey East Championship. You've seen a good handful of games in an NHL arena, so that's got to be pretty special from your perspective.
It is special. You see the stadium and how many people fit in there. It's pretty close to here, actually. Saturday night was unbelievable. That's why it makes it special for us when we come out there and we see the fans. So it gives us that extra boost of energy, and we want to work for you guys and give you the best show we can.
And I'm glad you mentioned the fans, because for the first time on Swamp Talk, we have a couple of fan questions submitted for you, Mr. Carpenter. Just a few. for going forward, you can keep up with social media, Instagram, Facebook, and you can submit your questions to our weekly guests on Swamp Talk here today. First up, a couple of questions from Alec MG. First off, what was your emotion when you were winning the championship, and how did it impact your off-season training?
It's pretty surreal. You look back after the big celebration, and you kind of are like, wow, we did a lot of stuff from the beginning of the season, from training camp up until this moment. And there's a lot of memories that come from away from the rink, getting to know each other and their families, and the memories you make just kind of solidify that bond. And there's still guys from 2 years ago that I talked to that keep in touch, and especially last year, there'll be guys that I talk to for the rest of my life, and that's what makes it really special. Is having that common goal with everyone and achieving it together.
And now we've got a couple questions from Crystal239. What is your favorite part about hockey? First off,
that's a tough question. There's a lot, but when you hit the ice, and it's just a fun game. It's something special that I get to still play, and I definitely don't take that for granted. And I know a lot of people would trade a lot to be where I am, so I think about that pretty much every day when I walk into the rink, and I want to make the most of it.
And then last question, I think I know, it's once again from Crystal239. Who is your role model?
My dad is definitely a big one, especially with his career and everything he's taught me. I certainly wouldn't be here, and all the lessons he's taught me, and especially going through the injuries and how to kind of put one foot forward and not kind of overthink it through the tough times has been a big blessing for me, because it's not easy. There's a lot of roadblocks when you're trying to make it, and I'm pretty friendly with that. So, hopefully it goes better now that everything's fixed, and I'm thankful for all that.
Yes, sir. And I think one final question is, full name, Robert Carpenter. So how did we land on Bobo?
I was given it when I was a baby. I don't really remember why. I know my dad, my grandfather, and I have the same exact name, and my dad was called Bob through his career. So I don't know if they just added an O, but it stuck, and it's pretty special to me. So I love it when people call me it.
Yeah, I know. I remember early in the year I put you down as Robert on the website. He came to me and said, could we change that?
Yeah.
And I know the fans love seeing you as Bobo Carpenter. We're looking forward to seeing you again for another full week of Everblades hockey coming up. Bobo Carpenter, thank you very much for joining us this week.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
All right, we'll continue with more Swamp Talk after this.
Thank you so much, Bobo Carpenter, talking about his origin of his name, his college days, his little healthy rivalry with his sister.
Answering some fan questions.
Yeah, and a pretty productive start to the season so far.
Yeah, doing good, looking healthy out there, looking like a guy who's happy to be back playing hockey, honestly. And sometimes that's, especially coming off the season he had last year, that's very important.
Absolutely, yeah. To get back right onto it, get healthy, get back into the swing of things. And he's playing, like we said, he's already got two goals on the season, so he's up to full game speed already.
I will say yes, but one thing though, he wasn't looking quite as good as us will. Do you know why that is?
I think it's because these nice shirts that we're wearing, Jake,
I think so too.
Which you can find at the Everblades Pro Shop and online at Shopify for all of your Everblades merch needs. And hey, we're open non-game days, we're open game days, so anytime you find yourself at Hertz Arena, stop in at the Everblades Pro Shop, and you can look just as good as me and Jake.
Even during some concerts, you can just quickly slip over to the rec side.
No doubt. Hey.
Get all the latest gear.
And we've looked good.
We have looked good. We look good today.
Dressed to the nines. Dressed to the nines.
Yes, thank you very much to Isaac Berg hooking us up with all the good stuff. And he can hook you up, too, at the Everblades Pro Shop.
And you know why we're so well dressed today? Because we've got not one, not two, but 3 upcoming home games this week.
Got to be well dressed for it.
Against the Orlando Solar Bears.
That means you got to get up and be ready to bring out your best. And
you got to get up and get ready.
The best outfits.
Hey, absolutely. But as we said, 3 very important games against an in-state rival. You just played Orlando on the road last week. That's a long drive to take back in the middle of the night, I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah.
But now they got to come to us, so we don't have to worry about that drive. 3 great games, 3 great matchups, and hopefully some points in the conversation for the Everblades.
Yeah, for sure. And I'd imagine Orlando's, I don't know if desperation is the right word to use this early in the season. Orlando right now has also played 4 games, but they are 1-2-1. They are a team that is very aware of how their poor start last year sunk their playoff chances, made it too hard for them to come back with a good February and March and make it into the playoffs. They are a team that is looking at the standings right now. And even though we're only 4 games in, they're seeing that Jacksonville, Atlanta, Greenville, all perfect 3-0. They're seeing that they've seen the Blades beat them twice. They've even seen that Savannah's been competitive in their games. And South Carolina just went up to Newfoundland playing a tough Growlers team and beat them in 2 of 3 games. So they're looking around and they're saying, we can't afford to have another slow start again. And if you came down here and you were to lose 3 games and you've won 1 of your first 7, you'd be in tough. So the Solar Bears, again, desperation. I don't know if that's the right word to use at this time of year, but they are certainly going to be bringing out their best. They know they've got to get this series for their long-term hopes.
If desperate isn't the word, I think a little unnerved might be the right word.
We got to break up the thesaurus for this.
Because on paper, Orlando has one of the most stacked teams in the entire ECHL.
They have so much talent on their squad.
So they should be, in theory, they should be winning a lot of these games so far, and I'm sure in the future they will.
And I mean, this is a team. Orlando would kind of be in the list of teams that is hurt the most strictly by being in the South Division, because this is a team where if you slap them in the Central or the Mountain, would probably be competing for the top spot.
No doubt. But you've got to play against a very stacked Florida Everblades team.
I don't know how
very stacked Jacksonville Iceman team.
I don't know how the geography would work for getting Orlando in the Central Division. You have to
Orlando's got a big airport,
you'd have to
so it might work.
Cut out the city and migrate it up to Kentucky or something.
Yeah, just kind of put the whole thing
Trade
on like
Orlando,
a tractor trailer
Orlando,
and drive it up.
Orlando for Frankfurt, something like that, or Franklin, Kentucky.
That could work. That could work.
We can make it
Lexington,
work.
Kentucky.
Lexington,
great
yeah.
college town. They
We
love
can-
their basketball team over there.
We can make it work. We'll make it happen.
We'll make it work.
And they get the Magic in Kentucky.
Kentucky's in the conversation about NBA expansion, So
Yes.
hey,
We'll save that for.
Could be in the future.
We'll save that for our next podcast, though.
that's true. Yeah. Join us on episode. What are we? We're on 4 right now.
4.
Join us on episode 5 of Swamp Talk to talk about
And the
potential
NBA.
expansion rumors.
Maybe we'll save that for the off season. We'll need
Yeah.
it.
When we're really like grasping at straws for content.
When we are. But right now, plenty of content coming up this week with the games, and also plenty of guys joining the team right now.
Yeah.
4 players from the last time we did a Swamp Talk episode have come down and donned the Everblades green. 1 also departing. Well, first, we'll get to that. Cameron Nault traded from Florida to the Iowa Heartlanders last night. Trade just for future considerations. Nault scored 1 goal in 3 games with the Blades. He's an ECHLer for sure, so it feels better that they were able to find a home for him, somewhere to trade him where he can hopefully be a key contributor to a team that's trying to make a jump after 2 rough years. So we wish Cameron Nault all the best. But the 4 guys that are coming in, you've got 2 guys on NHL contracts, 3 guys on NHL contracts, and 1 on an AHL deal. We'll start with the one that fans probably already know about, Blake Murray.
Yep.
He came down to join the team Saturday. Didn't play in the home opener because, he just got there, right?
Yep.
But he's on a deal with the Carolina Hurricanes, actually, who don't have an ECHL or an AHL affiliate, which makes the way they have to distribute their prospects a little different. So he was with Norfolk. Norfolk agreed to allow Carolina to send his rights here. It's a little different than an average trade with Norfolk.
Yeah.
So not sure on what any sort of return to the Admirals would be right now. But Blake Murray, a good player to get. He was here in September for the showcase.
He was,
the rookie showcase with the Hurricanes. Played pretty well. You could certainly tell that he had more pro experience than a lot of the younger guys out there. And it's good to have a guy who's experienced in this league. Already a goal in 2 games with the Admirals. So excited to have Blake Murray join the squad, Will.
Yeah, he should be a good kind of another piece of the puzzle that Brad Ralph can use. And like you said, has some ECHL experience, has AHL experience, or I should say he's on an NHL contract. He was at that rookie showcase. So it's not like he's only played a handful of games in the past couple of months. Since mid-September, he's played a lot of high-level hockey. So this is somebody that's got game legs, is up to game speed, and should be ready once he finally hits the ice for the Everblades, should be ready to make an impact.
Yeah, and he was one of the players that probably got hurt the most by the Chicago Wolves going on independent and severing their ties to the Hurricanes. Because he was a guy last year, he split the season between the Admirals and the Wolves. A guy who was poised to probably be a full-time AHLer, but then there's nowhere to send him, and it's a little harder to get teams in the AHL to agree to take on another team's prospect, right? They're far more focused on their own. So what do? Well, you got to find the best ECHL squad for him then. And
just so happens to be right here.
Just happens to be right here in Southwest Florida, and the Blades get to be the benefactors of a tough situation for the Hurricanes. Going to be interesting to see how he's deployed, how much influence the Hurricanes would have over that, because they are not the affiliate of the Everblades. It's the Panthers. More on that in a moment. But still, either way, it's a good guy for the Blades to get in here.
No doubt, no doubt. He should be hopefully seeing the ice pretty soon, and we'll see how he makes an impact in Everblades green.
And speaking of joining in Everblades green, 3 guys coming down from the Charlotte Checkers, 2 of them on Panthers contracts, 1 of them on an AHL deal. Starting with the 2 forwards, first off, Wilmer Skog. I know some people around the office are really disappointed that it's not Wilmer Skoog, but it's Skog.
Skog.
We're going with the official pronunciation.
S-K-O-O-G?
Yes.
S-K-O-O-G.
Yeah. Spelling bee. Good job, Will.
Hey, I know my stuff.
So he joins. He comes out of BU, playing some good college hockey.
I don't have family that went to BU. I just like when guys play college hockey in Massachusetts.
Yeah. But from Sweden, last year we had Lucas Kalbla, a German. This year the Blades getting a Swede. And also Kai Schwint, Panthers prospect, undrafted, signed for the Mississauga Steelheads in the Ontario Hockey League. He's only 19, Will.
Yeah, wow.
Very rare that you see. And he's not like he's 19, but he turns 20 in 2 days. He's not going to be 20 until mid-November, or mid-December, pardon me. It's very rare that you see a teenager in the ECHL. But it makes sense for him. He'd only played 1 game in Charlotte. The Panthers have a bunch of forward prospects that are just further along in their development right now. It doesn't make sense to have Schwint riding the pine in the AHL when he can come down here and play some meaningful minutes in Florida.
No doubt. And I think this is a really good learning opportunity for Kai because, like you said, he's only 19. This is probably a very strong level for him to play at. And also, you've got a lot of veterans on this Everblades teams, a lot of veterans that know how to win titles.
Yeah.
You look at, Cole Moberg and Cam Johnson and Joe Pendenza. These
are
veterans
guys
on
that
this
a
team.
teenager like him can learn from it.
Absolutely.
I've met Kai Schwint a little bit. Great work ethic, quality character kid. He's going to fit in really well here.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what he can do. He's on the first year of his entry-level deal with the Panthers. And finally, defenseman Zach Ewens, Kelly Cup champion from last year's squad, returning to the Blades. More of a victim of the crazy amount of defensemen the Panthers have as opposed to anything else. I mean, it's already affected Dennis Hassan and Will Riley, who are both guys that are good enough to play in the AHL, but they just, with how many blue liners the Panthers organization has, it just keeps bumping guys down further and further. But I think it's a good thing for Ewens, just like last year when he came down to the Blades. It's better for a guy to be playing hockey than not. If a guy's going to get in every other game or every 2 out of every 3 games in the AHL, then yeah, it's probably better to keep him up there. But if he's not, and Ewens had only played 1 game to this point, it makes far more sense for him to be in the lineup pretty much every night.
Yeah, and that really starts to affect their chances if they get a little rusty. Then the games that they are getting in, they're not as impactful. They can't make as many changes to the game and just kind of be the player that they want to be. So it's a really good opportunity for a lot of those guys that might be, at the start of the season, might have been looking at AHL level hockey. They come down for the E for a little bit. They get some really meaningful minutes. And then if they do get that call up back, they can make the most of them.
They're ready to go. Yeah, we saw that last year a little bit with Cam Morris and Dominic Franco. They started the year with us in Florida. A couple months into the season, they were gone and they never came back.
Mm-hmm. That's how it goes. Circle
That's
of
how
life.
it goes, yeah.
Upward mobility.
Yeah, certainly going to be some roster decisions for the Blades to make. They're pretty much up against the roster limit right now. They got a couple of guys on IR, so once those guys come off, you have to make some hard choices as to what you're going to do. I mean, they've already made one with trading Cameron Null.
Yep.
More coming up, but for this week, that's a long-term thing, Will. In the short term, right now, you're just focused on Orlando.
Orlando. Tomorrow, on Wednesday, and then that's November 1st, and then off
Start
on
a new
Thursday.
month.
And then Friday, Saturday, the 3rd and the 4th. Saturday, November 4th, is our military night. So
Part
please
of
come
Military Weekend, presented by the National Coalition for Patriots.
Yep.
Always one of the best weekends of the year. It's going to be a lot of fun. Blades will be wearing specialty-themed jerseys for those games.
We'll have an in-game auction for some game-worn uniforms and some pucks.
Signed pucks. We had the players signing them today.
There's a lot of stuff that you
A lot of stuff
that you can bid on, that you can take home some souvenirs, and just support an unbelievable cause. Supporting local veterans here in Southwest Florida. The National Coalition of Patriots have always been fantastic partners with the Everblades.
Yes, and we are very happy that they're back with us for another year, for another fun night of hockey, and we are excited to see what we get this week. So thank you for joining us for another episode of Swamp Talk, the official podcast of the Florida Everblades. We'll see you next week. New guest, new hockey things to talk about. We're only 4 games in, and it's already so much fun.
Marching on.
Marching on. We'll see you next week.